now you're all alone, in part two. So how is that going to be for you? How are we going to see Bree? Because really, she doesn't have a support system around her right now.
Yeah, it's sad because I think it's a little triggering for Brianna. I think when she was a kid, she didn't have much of a support system, or it felt like. I think her biggest lean was Frank. And then once she found out that he'd been lying to her too, and he died very quickly, I think Brianna's really struggled to trust the world, I guess, and its process, and trust that she's not on her own. And so I think when then in season seven, part two, she is on her own, it's a very hard thing for her to deal with. But I think her maternal instincts really kick in, and she has something bigger than herself to protect, which is her kids. And so that definitely is the survival instinct that kicks in for her. She's better at looking after other people than she is herself. So she peaks at this.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say what her journey is going to look like now that kind of Roger went back, and but she does still have her kids obviously to think about. I guess how is she going to help in a way being in the present?
Your question is great because I think that that is actually Brianna's biggest fear is that she thinks that she can't help. The only thing that she can do and knows how to do right now is to protect Mandy and just keep life as normal as she possibly can for Mandy. And that's her way of saving one child. And I think the idea of being helpless and the idea of being in the passenger seat is something that Brianna really struggles with. Like I said, she's always just kind of had herself to rely on. And so not being the one to kind of be in control and be able to be proactive is something that she's struggling with. And so I think in 7B, there is a turning point in the storyline where Brianna can sort of regain some it's not necessarily control but some power in a situation to be able to do something. I think there's nothing worse than being feeling trapped in your own body or trapped in your own life, and I think she's very good at having a goal and achieving it, and I think protecting her children is something she really thrives at. And so if she is presented with the ability to do that, in the situation to do that, then she's going to feel a lot better.
What I like about Outlander is that there's always character development. So is there something that you learned about Brianna in part two or season seven in general?
I think we've seen Brianna through a lot of different situations and a lot of different trauma with like a big range of people, and personalities. And I think before she has potentially subscribed slightly to the revenge train. And I think now one thing that I think really reflects and shows her maturity is that I don't think she thinks that way anymore. And I think she's very much just about kind of like protecting her peace and just making sure people are okay around her, and just being kind of the best mother that she can, and just being quite proud of herself. And so I think in seven part two, the main thing I learned is just actually a highlight of that growth of like she's not interested in kind of changing the external. She just wants to make sure that she is sort of the best version of herself and the best mom and just a good human, and that she'll do the right thing, which yeah, might not always be easy, but she definitely does the right thing.